It's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep. That's Robert Kiyosaki. And I know, but stay with me because he accidentally described the single most confusing experience in modern American life. So let me tell you a story. Tell me if it's yours. You're 24, making $42,000, splitting a cramped apartment with two roommates, eating rice and whatever's on sale, and you make yourself a promise. You say, if I ever make $75,000 a year, I will be set. Are you kidding me? 75 grand? I'll have my own place, I'll travel, I'll max out my retirement, I'll never stress about money again. Fast forward 5 years. You did it. You're 29, you're making $75,000 more than you ever dreamed of at 24. And you open your banking app one night and you stare at it and you think, where is it? Where is all of it? Because somehow you're still checking your balance before the weekend. You're still a little nervous when an unexpected bill shows up. You're still not maxing out that retirement account. You make nearly double what 24-year-old you made, and you feel just about as broke, maybe more, because now you feel broke and guilty about it, because you're supposed to be doing fine. Here's the thing. You are not bad with money. You did not fail. You walked into one of the most precisely engineered traps in personal finance, and almost nobody sees it coming because the trap doesn't look like a trap. It looks like success. $75,000 a year is right in the dead center of the income trap. It's high enough to feel like you've made it, which changes your behavior, but not high enough to absorb what that behavior does to you. It is the exact income where lifestyle inflation and fixed cost expansion do their maximum damage. Today, I'm going to show you precisely how a good salary keeps you stuck, why the trap is mathematically strongest right around 75,000, and exactly how to break out of it without waiting for a raise that won't fix it anyway. My name is Slime Johnson. This is Slime's Wealth Academy. Let's go. If you're someone who finally started earning what you used to think was good money, and you're quietly confused and a little ashamed that you still feel financially stuck, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Because today we're dismantling the most demoralizing lie in personal finance. The idea that the next raise, the next salary bump, the next level of income is the thing that finally sets you free. It isn't. And I'm going to show you the math on why and what actually does. No shame, no doom, just the mechanics of the trap and the exact way out. So stay with me. Part 1. The history lesson. The law that explains your ample bank account. To understand why $75,000 doesn't feel like 75,000. I need to introduce you to a British naval historian who never managed a single household budget and accidentally explained your entire financial life in 1955. His name was Cyril Northcote Parkinson, and he was studying something totally unrelated to money, bureaucracy. He noticed that British government offices kept hiring more and more people, even when the actual workload wasn't growing. And in 1955, in an essay for The Economist, he stated the principle that made him famous. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. That's Parkinson's law. Give yourself a week to do a task that takes a day, and somehow it takes the whole week. The work expands to fill whatever container you give it. Now, here's where it gets interesting because economists and financial writers took one look at that and realized it applies to money even more brutally than it applies to time. There's a financial corollary to Parkinson's law, and it goes like this. Expenses rise to meet income. Your spending expands to fill whatever income you give it, always, automatically, without you noticing. Here's what most people don't realize. This isn't a willpower problem and it isn't unique to you. It is a documented near universal default behavior. When humans get more money, they don't keep their old life and bank the difference. They unconsciously, almost immediately, upgrade their life to match the new income. And the upgrade absorbs the raise every time. And there's a name for the psychology underneath it. Discovered by researchers Brickman and Campbell back in 1971. The hedonic treadmill. The finding is that humans rapidly adapt to improved circumstances. That new apartment, that new car, that nicer lifestyle, it gives you a hit of satisfaction for a few months, and then your brain recalibrates, treats it as the new normal, and the satisfaction evaporates. So you need the next upgrade to feel good again. You're running on a treadmill, you keep spending more, but your actual happiness and your actual financial security stay in exactly the same place. So picture these two forces stacking on top of each other. Parkinson's financial law says your expenses automatically rise to eat your raise. The hedonic treadmill says you won't even stay happy from the upgrade, so you'll keep reaching for the next one. Put those together and you get the engine of the income trap. You earn more, you spend more, you adapt, you feel the same, you reach for the next raise, and the cycle runs forever at every income level unless something interrupts it. Your great grandparents on a fraction of the income often built more security than people pulling $75,000 today, and this is a huge part of why. The income went up, but the financial corollary of Parkinson's law was waiting the entire time to eat every dollar of it. Now let's look at exactly how this plays out at $75,000 and why the numbers are so much worse than they look. Part 2. The dado. Why $75,000 is the trap sweet spot. Okay, Let's get into the numbers because this is where the trap reveals its real face. First, let's be clear about what $75,000 actually is. On paper, it's a genuinely good income. It's well above the US median individual income and right around the median household income. When you say it out loud, it sounds like comfort. It sounds like breathing room. But here's the first villain, and it shows up before you spend a single dollar, taxes and deductions. That $75,000 is a gross number, and you never see it. Between federal income tax, state tax in most states, Social Security, Medicare, and your health insurance premium, a single filer on $75,000 is realistically taking home somewhere in the neighborhood of $54,000 to $58,000 a year, depending on the state. Let's call it $56,000. So right away, the $75,000 in your head is actually about $4,600 a month landing in your account. The number that made you feel rich quietly lost almost a quarter of itself before you woke up on payday. Now let's spend that $4,600 the way the average person earning this actually does, and watch what happens. Housing. The general guideline is to keep housing at 30% of gross, but in a lot of the country, that's a fantasy now. The median rent for a one bedroom in many metro areas runs $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Let's say you're being relatively reasonable at 4,700. There goes 4,700. Transportation. The average new car payment in America is now around $735 a month, and the average used car payment is around $520. Add insurance, gas, and maintenance, and a single car easily runs $850 to $1,000 a month all in. Let's call it 900. Food. Groceries plus the normal amount of eating out for one person realistically runs 600 to 800 a month. Let's say 650s. So far, housing 1500, transportation 900, food 650. That's 3250 out of $4,600. And we have not paid for a single other thing yet. Now add the rest of real life. Phone, internet, utilities, call it $300. Health and personal care, subscriptions, the gym, another $250. Some minimum payment on the student loans, which for the average borrower runs around $250 to $400 a month, call it 300. Add it up. 3,250 plus 300 plus 250 plus 300. That's $4,100 a month in fairly normal, not even luxurious spending out of $4,600 take home, which leaves you $500 a month on a $75,000 salary. $500 between you and the edge. And that's before a single restaurant splurge, a single flight home, a single emergency, a single nice thing you bought because you work hard and you earn $75,000 and you're supposed to be able to afford it. This is the trap laid out in numbers. And here's what most people don't realize about why it's specifically vicious at $75,000. It's the fixed costs. Look at that breakdown again. The housing, the car, the insurance, the phone, the loans. The overwhelming majority of that $4,100 isn't lattes and impulse buys. It's fixed, recurring, locked-in monthly obligations. And here's the killer. As your income rose from $42,000 to $75,000, you didn't inflate your fun spending most of all. You inflated your fixed spending. You got the nicer apartment, that's a year-long lease. You got the car, that's a 6-year loan. You moved to the better neighborhood, you signed up for the subscriptions, you took on the obligations. This is what I call fixed cost creep. And it is so much more dangerous than blowing money on fun for one reason. Fun spending you can stop instantly. Fixed costs you're locked into. When you lifestyle inflate into a higher rent and a car payment, you haven't just spent the money. You've made a binding commitment to keep spending it every single month, whether or not your situation changes. You converted your raise into a cage, and then you signed a lease on the cage. This is where it gets really interesting. The reason $75,000 is the trap's sweet spot is that it's exactly enough income to qualify you for the bigger commitments. The apartment will approve you, the dealership will finance you, the bank will lend to you, but not enough income to absorb them comfortably once they're stacked on top of each other. Lower earners can't access these commitments, so they're painfully but protectively locked out. Much higher earners can absorb them. The $75,000 earner is in the exact danger zone, approved for the lifestyle but not insulated from it. Part 3, the twist, the raise that makes you poorer now. You might be thinking, okay, Slime, so the answer is obvious. I just need to earn more. Get to $90,000, get to 6 figures, and then I'll finally have margin. And this is the twist, this is the part that when it clicks, changes how you see your entire financial life. Because that belief, the belief that the next raise solves it, is not the way out of the trap. It's the engine that powers the trap. Here's what actually happens when the $70,000 earner gets the raise to $90,000. The gross went up $15,000. But remember the first villain, taxes. Because of how marginal tax brackets work, that raise is taxed at your highest rate, not your average rate. So that 15,000 raise might put only around $10,000 to $11,000 in your pocket after taxes. Call it about $900 more a month in take home. And now the financial corollary of Parkinson's law shows up right on schedule. Except this time it's worse because now you have proof you're successful. You got promoted, you earned it, you deserve to enjoy it, right? So the apartment gets upgraded. There goes $400 of the $900. The car you'd been making do with gets traded for the one you really wanted. There goes another $300. A few more subscriptions, a slightly nicer grocery store, eating out a little more because you're busy and you can afford it now. There goes the rest. Within about 6 months, and the research on lifestyle inflation backs this timeline up, your spending has fully expanded to absorb the entire raise. Your bank account at $90,000 looks exactly like it did at 75,000. Same $500 of margin, same anxiety, same checking the balance before the weekend. Except now it's worse. Because you've raised your fixed costs again. You've made bigger binding commitments. Your monthly nut, the amount you absolutely must earn every month just to keep the lights on and stay current on everything you've signed up for, is now permanently higher. Which means you're now more trapped in your job, more vulnerable to a layoff, and you need an even bigger emergency fund to feel safe. An emergency fund you still don't have because the raise got eaten. Here's the brutal punchline, and I want you to really sit with this. A raise spent this way doesn't just fail to free you, it makes you less free. You have more income but more obligation, higher pay but higher risk, a bigger salary but a smaller margin of safety. You climbed and the cage climbed with you, and it got heavier. This is why you know people making $150,000, $200,000 a year who are living paycheck to paycheck and would be in genuine crisis if they miss two checks. It's not a myth, the data backs it up. Surveys consistently find that a significant share of people earning over $100,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. I've cited this on the channel before, and it stuns people every time. High earners broke because the trap scales with income. It doesn't disappear when the number gets bigger. It just hides better behind a more impressive lifestyle. The trap was never about the size of your income. It was about the gap between your income and your fixed obligations. And chasing a bigger income while letting your obligations chase it right back up keeps that gap exactly the same or shrinks it forever. Part 4, the present day, how to actually break the trap, all right. This is the part that changes your bank account because the way out of the income trap is real, it's mathematical. And here's the good news, it does not require you to earn a single dollar more. It requires you to break the link between earning more and spending more permanently. Here's the core principle, and it's the opposite of what the trap trains you to do. The goal is not to increase your income. The goal is to increase the gap between your income and your fixed obligations. That gap, the margin, is the only thing that actually buys freedom, and you can widen it from either side. Let me give you the specific moves. Move 1, attack your fixed costs, because that's where the real money is and where it's permanent. Most budgeting advice tells you to cut the small stuff, skip the latte, cancel a subscription. That's fine, but it's missing the point because the small stuff isn't what's trapping you. Your fixed costs are. And here's the beautiful part, a fixed cost cut once stays cut every single month forever with zero ongoing willpower. Your three biggest fixed costs are housing, transportation, and debt payments. Those are the needle movers. If you can keep your housing closer to 25% of your take home instead of 35%. On our $56,000 example, that's the difference of around $400 a month, $4,800 a year recovered permanently. If you drive a reliable paid off car instead of carrying a $735 payment, that's potentially $8,000 a year. These are not latte sized decisions. These are the decisions. Win the big three, and you've created more margin in a month than a year of skipping coffee ever could. Move 2, pre commit your next raise before you ever see it. This is how you kill the financial corollary of Parkinson's law directly. The trap works because the raise hits your account and silently expands your lifestyle before you've made a conscious decision. So you take the decision away from your future, tempted self, and give it to your present rational self. Right now, before the raise, you decide when the raise comes, a fixed percentage of it, say 50% or more, gets automatically routed to savings and investing before it ever touches your spending account. You're allowed to enjoy the other half, but you split it deliberately in advance so the expansion can't happen by default. We did a whole video on this 50% raise capture rule. It is the single most powerful habit for escaping this trap. Move 3, build the automated architecture so the margin actually survives. Margin that sits in your checking account doesn't survive, it gets absorbed because expenses rise to meet whatever's available. So the moment you create a gap, you have to get it out of reach automatically. Separate high yield savings account for the emergency fund, which by the way is currently paying 4.5% to 5%, the best in over a decade. Automatic transfers to investing the day after payday. The money has to leave before your lifestyle sees it. Architecture beats willpower every single time. Move 4, define your enough on purpose so you can step off the treadmill. Remember the hedonic treadmill. Every upgrade stops feeling special in a few months. That's actually liberating news because it means most upgrades aren't buying you lasting happiness anyway. So decide consciously what level of lifestyle is genuinely enough for you, and then deliberately stop inflating past it and root everything above that line into building wealth. The person who escapes the income trap isn't the one who earns the most, It's the one who decides on purpose where their lifestyle stops growing and lets their wealth keep growing instead. Now, let me be clear about something, because I'm not telling you never to enjoy your money. I'm telling you to make the choice consciously instead of letting the trap make it for you by default. Enjoying your income on purpose is freedom. Having it silently consumed by fixed cost creep you never chose is the trap. The entire game is moving from default to deliberate. A note on the current environment: since this is a wealth channel, those high yield savings rates of 4.5% to 5% mean the margin you create is actually earning a real return while it waits. That hasn't been true for most of the last 15 years. And on the market side, valuations are elevated. The Schiller Cape is around 34 to 35 versus a historical average near 17. So forward returns may be more modest than the historical 10%. But notice, escaping the income trap doesn't depend on the market at all. The margin you free up by cutting a car payment is a guaranteed return. Plugging the leak is risk-free. The market is what compounds the margin after you've created it, but creating it is entirely within your control, no matter what stocks do next year. Part 5: the honest take. No hype, no doom. Let me be straight with you, because that's the deal on this channel. First, the honest caveat that matters most. For some people, $75,000 genuinely isn't enough, and this is not their fault and not a discipline problem. If you're a single parent, or you live in one of the highest cost of living cities in the country, or you're carrying medical debt, or supporting family members, the math I laid out might leave you with no margin, no matter how disciplined you are, because your fixed costs are genuinely non negotiable, not inflated. I am not going to sit here and pretend that optimizing your spending solves the structural cost of living problem. For some situations, the honest answer really is that income needs to rise, or costs outside your control need to come down. The income trap is real, but it is not the only thing happening, and I won't insult you by pretending otherwise. But here's the distinction, and it's the most important one in this whole video. There's a difference between fixed costs that are genuinely non negotiable and fixed costs you inflated into and now call non negotiable. The car payment you chose over a paid off car is not the same as rent in an expensive city where you must live for work. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself about which of your fixed costs are actually fixed and which ones you just got used to. That honesty is the whole ball game. Second, I'm not telling you that earning more is bad. Earning more is good. A higher income is a genuinely powerful tool. The point is that a higher income only builds wealth if the gap widens. Income growth plus disciplined fixed costs is how real wealth gets built fast. Income growth that gets fully eaten by lifestyle is just a more expensive way to run in place. Raises aren't the enemy. Unconscious lifestyle inflation is. And the broader truth: the future is uncertain. Nobody can promise you what the economy does, what your industry does, whether the next raise even comes, which is exactly why the margin matters so much. The person with a wide gap between income and obligations is resilient in every possible future. They can survive the layoff, take the opportunity, weather the emergency. The person running at the edge on a great salary is fragile, no matter how impressive the number on their paycheck looks. Freedom was never the size of the income, it was always the size of the gap. Here's what I need you to carry out of this video. $75,000 a year doesn't keep you stuck because it's not enough money. It keeps you stuck because of a law a British historian wrote down in 1955. Expenses rise to meet income, combined with a treadmill in your own brain that makes every upgrade feel normal in a matter of months. Your income went up, your spending quietly rose to meet it, your fixed costs locked that spending in, and the margin that was supposed to set you free got eaten before you ever saw it. And the cruelest part of the trap is the exit everyone reaches for: the next raise is the very thing that powers it, because the raise gets eaten the exact same way, except now your cage is bigger and heavier, and you're even more trapped in the job you needed the raise to escape. So stop chasing the number, start widening the gap. Attack the big fixed costs, because they're where the real permanent money is. Pre-commit your next raise before it hits, so it can't expand your lifestyle by default. Automate the margin out of reach so it survives. And decide on purpose where your enough is, so you can step off the treadmill and let your wealth grow instead of your spending. You don't need a bigger salary to start getting free. You need a bigger gap. And the gap is built by choice, not by income, which means you can start building it today at $75,000, at $50,000, at whatever you earn, no raise required. The trap looks like success, which is why almost nobody escapes it. But now you can see it, and you can't be caught by a trap you can finally see. Stop filling the container. Start keeping the difference. That's the whole game. If this video finally explained why your good salary never feels like enough, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people stuck in the exact trap we just took apart. Subscribe to Slime's Wealth Academy if you're not already here. We break down the real mechanics of money every single week. No jargon, no gatekeeping, no shame. Drop a comment. What's your enough number? The lifestyle level where you'd consciously stop inflating and start building. Have you ever actually thought about it? Tell me. I read every single one. And if you got someone in your life crushing it on paper, but quietly stressed about money, send them this video. Showing them the trap is an architecture problem, not a personal failure, might be the thing that finally sets them free. I'm Slime Johnson. This is Slime's Wealth Academy. Regular people, real wealth, no gatekeeping. See you in the next one.